Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fear Free Talk Show. I am waiting for people to come on to get some coaching. If you're out there and you're watching, I want to thank you for being with me today. The purpose of this show is to support people in becoming fear free. Now, what do I mean by becoming fear free? Of course, like I have a lot of people that say, but don't we need fear? Doesn't fear keep us safe? Isn't it really important? And I'm here to say no. No, it's actually not important. In fact, it's one of the most detrimental things that we have in our lives right now. It is what I call, there's two kinds of fear. There's the tiger fear. All right. And I'm going to discuss that a little bit, but there's also the mental fear. And mental fear is what most of us are living in most of the time. Now, what do I mean by fear? Fear is anything that causes you to get a lump in your throat, a tightness in the chest area that feels like anxiety and upset, or a difficult feeling in the solar plex area of your body. Now, when this part of your body is activated and tight, I call it being closed. And what it means is that you're in a pattern of thinking that's not true or not going to happen. You're in a way of thinking about the world that is actually old habitual thinking from your childhood that is now affecting who you are today. And so we have all kinds of mental fear in our lives that we project into the world around us. So an example could be, maybe you're somebody who gets freaked out if somebody doesn't text you back right away, or if you can't get a hold of someone. Maybe your mind goes to a place where you're wondering, what did I do wrong? Or you are constantly, your mind's worrying about money, no matter how much money you have. In the lean times and the times when you're flush and abundant, it doesn't matter. Your mind is still freaking out about money. Or it could be relationships, how somebody perceives you, making people angry. I had a friend who I went to lunch with them. I was talking about this concept of mental fear and how it really is creating a ton of suffering in our lives, and torture really tortures us. And what happened was, she was like, "Oh, I don't have any fear. I've got everything under control. I almost own my house. I've got plenty for retirement. I'm healthy. I have a wonderful marriage. Everything in my life is great." And then the next time we went to lunch, she said, "I cannot believe this, but I actually do have a ton of fear. I'm constantly afraid that people are mad at me, that my boss is going to be angry with me if I did something wrong. I'm always assuming that someone's going to be angry and that I did something wrong. Even my husband." And it's never true. You're right. It's never true. But I still have these little tiny freakouts where I'm constantly ruminating on the fact that somebody's going to be mad at me. Now, we all have issues. Some of them, maybe you're worried about your health. Every little ache and pain, every little twist and turn or cough or sniffle or whatever it is, you suddenly feel like this is a dire thing. Well, what happens is, this is what's really important for you to understand. What happens is that as we are babies and we're moving through the world and we're paying attention to the world around us, we begin to pick up how other people act around us. So if your mom is, rushing around trying to clean the house before your dad gets home because he gets really upset if the house isn't clean or if dinner's not on the table, right? Then that's something we pick up. If I don't do this, someone's going to be mad at me. Or maybe it's hiding. Maybe you watched one of your parents hide something from the other parent, being deceptive because they didn't want to get in trouble. Mom got a speeding ticket and she's like, or dad got a speeding ticket, or dad spent too much money in the store and said, don't tell your mother. And you start picking up these little habits. But what happens is as you get older and these things become triggers, they become knee-jerk reactions to the world around us. And they begin to control our behavior. They begin to control our joy. They begin to control what we're capable of. And what I'm here to tell you is that all of these triggers, anytime you feel any of the following, you're in mental fear. Anytime you feel worry, anxiety, anytime you feel overwhelm is a fear of not getting enough done in a quick enough time period. Guilt ever true. Notice how you don't actually take action, that you just feel and you experience it and you have it and you ruminate. Maybe you feel guilty about how you fed your kids, or you fed them, or you didn't spend enough time because you spent too much money, or you're not spending enough time with one of your parents and they're aging. And this sits on us. And what it is, it's actually a false belief that was given to us in our childhood about what makes us a good. We carry it around with us, and it's debilitating. Now, remorse is opening. When you feel centered and a release in the body, that means what you're thinking is true, in alignment with your great life blueprint. I talk a lot about that. I believe, and what I found is that we do have a purpose and we do have a blueprint that we're here living, and we get off of it. And part of the reason why we have this internal guidance system, this contraction, closing, and this expansion, opening, is it is giving us guidance on whether or not we are actually living our blueprint, our life's purpose and destiny on a daily basis. And so as you're thinking, it's trying to recalibrate your thinking by giving you sensations to the opposite, to the exact thing that you're supposed to be participating on a daily basis, moment by moment. When I decoded this 23 years ago, my life dramatically. I went from a high school dropout that was really having a lot of challenges in her life, trying to figure out how to make it work, sabotaging my life because of my own childhood patterns, to tuning into this and that as I left into the opening sensation, my life began to take off. My life began to change in dramatic ways super quickly because I was in alignment with my blueprint. And so anytime you're feeling a tightness, like I said, that means what you're thinking is not true and you're out of alignment with your blueprint. And when you learn to change your thinking and shift and move your thinking into an expanded feeling, and it can feel neutral, like you're just at it, or you can actually literally feel like you're being breathed, like there's an expansion happening in you, but based on how accurate and how aligned your thinking is. So like I said, remorse is opening. Remorse is something that you actually take action on. Guilt, you don't. Guilt is just something that runs around in your head and tortures you. But remorse is like, ooh, I've got to make amends for that. Okay. If you feel irritated, irritation's always with a person. And it's a belief that the person cannot or will not change. And it's not true. When you're irritated with somebody, they can and could change, will change if you are under the right circumstances and the right conversation. Frustration is always a closing and a fear of a situation or a thing not changing. You just kind of see how this is. Procrastination. Think about how stressful. Procrastination is a fear of not doing enough and getting enough done. And actually a lie. It's not a character default. It's not laziness. Procrastination is a fear of not getting things done. And there's only 4 things that are involved when you're procrastinating. And you can check your internal guidance system to see for yourself which of the 4 they are. One is, does it need to be done at all? You'd be surprised at how many things in your life your mind makes up that you need to be doing, and you actually don't need to be doing them. 2 is that the timing isn't right. There is a perfect timing to your life and the world around you. Things are constantly, as they shift and move, lining up to be in the perfect place at the perfect time with the perfect resources. And that's part of what your internal guidance system guides you into, is to being in that. And see, all procrastination is the lack of desire to do something. Think about it. You've got this list of things and there's a lack of desire to actually participate in it and do it. So, and that's what it is. And then the procrastination part is the mind jumps in and the fear is behind in my life, or I'm not getting enough done in my life, or you're comparing yourself to somebody else and what they're getting done. Or there's artificial pressures that seem real that are put upon you and you're not getting it done. So either it doesn't need to be done, it's a false thing. The timing isn't right. The third thing with procrastination is that it's somebody else's to do. I had a client who really had on her list forever to get the garage organized and cleaned out. And when she did the procrastination exercise with her list of things that she was procrastinating on, she realized that what opened her, which means what was the truest thought, the most thought, was that it was her husband and sons to do. And she was like, that makes so much sense. It's mostly their stuff. And then I would move it around and they wouldn't be able to find it and they'd be frustrated and upset. And I talked to them and asked them to do it, and they did it and it was done. And it was done in an afternoon. They had a great hers to do. And then 4th, your mind is making it too complicated. And it's got this huge list in your mind, okay, that of how it has to be done and all these complicated steps. And if you when you think about something you're procrastinating on, you're like, am I making this too complex? And you feel that open or that release of the tension that you feel in from the procrastination. That means that you're making it too complicated. Your way to get it done. So this is how the mental fear moves in our lives. You have your own mental fear because of your childhood. And trust me, it's debilitating. It's holding you back from where you're supposed to be. These little thoughts that wake us up in the middle of the night, right? Or you can't get back to sleep. There's that stuff that happens. Or the things that you get that come to you in the middle of a business meeting, for instance. Or maybe you have a client and they call you and they say, I really need to talk to you. And your mind immediately goes to the negative, immediately goes to they're mad or they're upset or I'm going to lose the account or there's something they're going to ask of me. Mistrust is a mental fear, not and always being suspicious. Because here's the thing, if something is true, it will give you a relaxed sensation. And that's why I say, like I said at the very beginning of this particular show, is that isn't fear good for us? Isn't it keep us safe? No. Because if something is true, it will open you. When that tiger jumps out, you might think fight, flight, or freeze. But the truth of the matter is you go into flow. Your body takes over to get you out of danger. Okay. And then afterwards, you'll have the fight, flight, or freeze. We have this thing about fear all wrong. And so what is coaching people live on how to pivot their thinking away from the mental fear and into an opening, which is in alignment with their blueprint. And the coolest thing is that you were born with this internal guidance system. It's already a part of who you are. I didn't make it up. I just decoded it and then started teaching people how to use it. And what ends up happening is as you go from a closing to an opening, okay, you start a new neural pathway and the old programming from 0 to 7 begins to go what they call neurally extinct. The same knee-jerk reactions don't happen anymore. They're not there. You'll be in the middle of a situation after you've done the work for a while and you're like, wait a minute, I'm completely reacting differently. Or you'll see somebody in your life that you used to doing something that you used to do, and you suddenly wake up to the fact that you don't do it anymore. It happens so gently and so naturally that it just kind of dissolves out of your life and you don't have that same upset. One of the most beautiful things that I get to hear from people, okay, is that their relationships with their significant others just goes into this deep place of happiness and flow and intimacy because they don't feel defensive anymore. They're not like making stuff up in their heads because they can feel in their body when they're making up a story about their partner that's not true. They're way more relaxed because they realized that they felt they couldn't before and they had to live with forever. It's a completely new world when you learn. So I'd love for you, I've got some people watching, is if you could give me in the comments, make sure my headset and everything sounds good. I just want to make sure I'm doing the best recording here. We currently do not have anybody that's on for coaching, which is totally fine. But you can put any questions that you have in the chat where you're watching. And I believe, depending on what platform you're on, because we're streaming to 5 different platforms, I'll be able to see it and answer your questions as I'm talking to you here. So the reason why this internal guidance system is really, really important is because what you're witnessing in the world around us that seem chaotic, that are where you have people that are wanting to censor other people, or where people wanting to, having difference of opinions, and it's destroying families, the politics, being able to put people in a place where people are butting heads to the point where they don't even want to be friends anymore, or they can't see each other at Thanksgiving, or they can't even talk about things. They're really upset. I know there's, in the last couple of elections, people have gotten really to the point where I'm leaving the United States if so gets elected, and our belief systems that this is going to tear down the fabric of our value if this person gets elected. The thing is that people are closed, meaning what they're thinking is not true or not going to happen. If it was true, there would be a centered, peaceful feeling, and the conversation dramatically changes in flavor because you are feeling open and willing to figure out how to create peace. One of the most powerful aspects of using your internal guidance system is the automated peace that comes from the opening, a centered discernment, wisdom, and knowledge that everything's going to be okay. Like, you know it in your bones. People actually have asked me, like, why aren't you freaking out about the world? It's like, because when I hold the thought that the world is not going to make it and the humans aren't going to make it, I close. But when I hold the thought that we actually need all this chaos in order to figure out who we are and make a really, really dramatic change in who we are, to stop doing the things that are hurting the planet, to stop doing the things that are hurting you, doing things that are impeding on other people's freedoms, right? That I get an opening that we can do it. There's a certainty that I can feel in my bones. And with that certainty is the courage to step up and to have the challenging conversations and do the difficult thing. Change the way that I am seeing the world and interact with other people, have more capacity for empathy and compassion, have more space, right? For me to be able to witness that. It's really important. One of the big things that opens me is that it's really important, okay, that we have a difference of opinion. We cannot solve the situation that we're in the world with one type of thinking. It's going to take us figuring out the best of the thinking and the thinkers that are out there and pulling all of it together in a collaborative effort to find the thing that's really going to work, because what we're doing right now isn't. And so this is a tool and an aspect of yourself that is so powerful and creates so much change in such a small amount of time. I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel so that way you can get pinged, and watch me working with people live. Watch me showing people how to move from a closing to an opening, and you're going to start to get it. You're going to realize the opportunity that you have in being able to go for the things that you never dreamed you could go for in the world, and to change things that you thought that you might at this point feel like you're just stuck with some of the behaviors and some of the things that you're doing and some of the ways in which you're operating in the world. You're just kind of stuck with this being the way that you are and you don't want to be. None of that's true. Let's see here. We've got Jane. Hey, Jane. I would like to get more info on how to focus my attention on publishing my poetry rather than focusing on all the info from the outside via email, etc. Can you be more specific about the info from the outside? That would be what is the info about? That would help me be able to, are you getting distracted from emails, or is it information on publishing your actual poetry? Here's the thing as far as getting things done in the programs. So I have a program that you are able to go ahead and work with me live here and get coaching, is if you purchase the Fear-Free Mind experience. And then it is a 14-day video series. It's $97. It's the Fear-Free Mind experience at fearfreemindexperience.com. And with that comes a month of coaching. And you do the 14 days and you learn how to use your IGS. And one of the things that happens is that fight, flight, or freeze, and we also have on as a fourth aspect of fear. Like, when you fawn all over somebody who's more powerful than you that could hurt you, or when, like, if you were a parent and your kid's afraid of getting in trouble and they start doing everything right and cleaning the house and trying to, kiss up to you to have you not be so mad at them and punish them or give them consequences that they don't want, right? And there's also a fifth aspect of response to fear, and it's flow. I like to call it feeling light, open, and wise. And what happens is in the 14 days, we clear out as many mental closings as you have, those things that cause the constriction, the anxiety, the worry. You catch the thinking with different practices and you pivot to an opening. And in the opening, you start a new neural path. Old stuff that's been bothering you starts to go away. And this new thought process that you've never been able to find before begins to take root. And that aligned thinking begins to shift the world around you. Things begin to literally line up differently. It's actually true that when the change you want to see, you need to be in the world, when you change your thinking and you start doing something, everything around you, people, circumstances, timing, resources, money, everything begins to change to line up for this new vibrational frequency, this new way of being that you are now. And there's a flow. And so we have this practice that is called dropping into your listening. And what it is you're cleaning out your mind and being with the body to see where you need to go next. to see where you need to be next. And it feels like you're being pulled like to the next thing. So an example of this would be when you're cooking dinner. Maybe you're a gardener or a dancer, or maybe you're an artist, or maybe you work on cars, or you play a sport. And you'll notice that when you get into that mindless place, when you're good at it, that the next right thing, the next right move just happens. You just simply know what the next thing is. That is being in flow. And you will learn, when you learn to use your IGS and you clear out all the closing thoughts and you start focusing and bringing in the opening thoughts as a natural way of being, what you'll learn is that flow is always there. Your optimal moment isn't just when you're in the depths of your golf swing in the perfect way, or in the perfect stroke of the paint, or the dance, or that moment where you're feeling pulled to call somebody in your life and you keep feeling that feeling to call them until you finally do. And they say, I was just thinking about you. These synchronistic miracle things in our lives are the normal ways that the world works. And you are able to, when the closings are gone, tap into that as a way to live. Okay. Now, Jane, I would say that getting distracted with emails and news and all of that. I'm going to go back to Jane, who's in the comment. Try something new, Jane. Let's see what the show. See. Da-da-da! I'm just learning how to use this technology, so bear with me as I'm having fun with it. So here's Jane's comment, okay, and in her response saying yes, that she's getting distracted to news and emails and things. There's a couple of things that it could be, and it would be, if you're on my email list, Jane, it would be wonderful for me to actually work with you and your internal guidance system in a coaching format. If you're not on my email list, because I'm doing these live for free to anybody who is on my email list, and I'm doing them almost daily. I've got a couple days here in December that I'm not doing them. I'll be in Seattle this week. At the end of this week, I won't be doing them on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but then I'll be doing them daily after that. And then, of course, Christmas Day and New Year's Day. But if you want to get on my email list, Jane, you can go to fearfreehuman.com. And right at the top of the website is a way to join the email list. And you'll get beautiful little mini pods, little tactics about using your internal guidance system. But then you'll also get the emails that will allow you to come and actually work with me and on your poetry and see why you're procrastinating. But I'm going to give you some common answers when somebody's in the situation that you're in. One is that there's a way in which you're thinking of your poetry, procrastination again, which is what we were working on, is it's too complicated. The way that you're thinking about the publishing and everything is it's too complicated, or the timing isn't. There's an artistic endeavor that we are stagnating on and not getting done. There's a timing issue, okay? And you want to know if there's a timing issue, you want the perfect timing, because that perfect timing, everything is, the wheels are greased and it flows from there, and it's wonderful. And the best thing you can do is not push it and wait. Or you're thinking that it's going to be a lot harder than it is actually going to be to organize and figure out your thinking. I mean, there's so many ways now that you can create a book. It's absolutely brilliant. I just went through a class where they're using, for instance, AI, and one of the things that they were showing is in a situation like poetry, you can feed all the poetry into it and have the AI organize them in a way that makes sense, that's beautiful, and then they put the book, it gives the book right back to you formatted, and then you can go through and make changes from there. There's incredible things that can be done now. But it really is usually you're making it too complicated, or it's divine timing. And if we were to work together and you could check in on your own just by holding the thought, I'm making this more complicated than it needs to be to publish my poetry, then you'll feel a centeredness. There'll be an ease in the tension, because right now, if you think about the fact that you're not getting your poetry done, and you can put this in the chat, Jane, you'll feel the tightness, the tension, the dis-ease, D-I-S-E-A-S-E, not disease like in sickness, but dis-ease, uncomfortableness at the thought of not getting it done, which means there's a closing, and that closing is what we would look for the opening. And when you find, which I just gave you it's timing or it's complication, it will release, that tension will go away. And that's how you know you're back in alignment with that thought. And the key from there is to stay in alignment. So if you find a sense of ease about the fact that you're making it too complicated, I would look at all the steps that you have in your head about what you need to do. I know every year my mind makes my doing the taxes very complicated in my head about how hard it's going to be to get all the receipts and all the different pieces together and all that. And it causes me to procrastinate. And then I realize, no, it doesn't have to be that hard. And usually takes me 20 minutes to 30 minutes to get it to my bookkeeper and it's done. It's never as hard as my mind makes it seem. Is that helpful, Jane? You can text. And then as far as distraction, in general, a lot of us are using just the internet, social media, YouTube distraction. It's becoming the new addiction, the immediate dopamine hit. It makes us feel better for a short period of time, thing that causes a dopamine hit. And we really get stuck in it. And the distraction itself is something that feels good. To be said for the fact that with an addiction, with a compulsion, good, Jane, I'm glad. Thank you. I'm glad that worked. There is something to be said with a compulsion nowadays that you just have to buckle down and make new boundaries around it. The cool thing about using your IGS, though, is there are times for distraction and compulsions, and they're healthy and they give us a break from ourselves. And there are times that you are not that's not right, and you will open when to actually participate in the distraction if it's right and healthy and you need the break from whatever is going on in your life, because we all have things where we just need a break for a little while from the trauma, drama, and problem. And then you'll also close when you're thinking about, I shouldn't be doing this. It will open you, because it's kind of counterintuitive when you start using it. If you say this and you feel an opening, it's true, you shouldn't be doing it. If you say, if you're thinking I shouldn't be doing this and doing this as often as I am, and you have a tight anxiety, true, which means it's okay to be participating in it at that time. This is not a yes or a no system. That's one of the things you'll learn when you study with me. It's an alignment system. You have to be very careful. I've spent a lot of time decoding this and helping people to not get messed up in the way that you think about it, because your mind is going to try to tell you what this is, and it's not a divination tool. It's not something where you can sit there and get a yes or a no answer. What you get is a more aligned thought that will carry you towards your most aligned life. And that changes. It's more like a compass, that needle that moves back and forth. It never just pings true north and you go straight to true north. What happens is it moves and kind of guides you as you move. It recalibrates. Or a GPS system in your car. As you're driving and you go off track, it gives you sensations on what you're thinking to get you back around and onto the route that you're supposed to be on, the one that's actually going to be the most effective and successful and happy for you. It literally is tuning you into your best life. That's what this system is doing. And when you're feeling that mental fear and stress in your life, okay, that tightness, anxiety, that means what you're thinking is not true, that you are out of alignment with your best life. And the key is to find the new thinking. And that's the hard part. The hard part is, well, gosh, how do I find the new thinking? So if you're able to comment, how many of you who are watching have worked with me or done some of my work before? Go ahead and put in the comments me, so I can get a feel for it. And how many of you have never heard about this before? Because that'll help me understand the best way to describe this and talk about this. It's be very helpful. Jane, have you been studying with me, or have you awareness of the internal guidance system and how it works? Go ahead and put it in there. Because the thing is that once you learn, number one is once you learn closing and you begin to learn how to move into the opening, that thought shifts, that thought goes away, and a whole new world opens up. Things that you've never thought before, you begin to be able to feel in your body are true for you. And old belief systems about yourself or what you're capable of, or whether something's difficult for you or not. Like a lot of people think, oh, I'll never have wealth because it's so difficult, and they'll be closed. Hi, Sky. Thanks for watching. And they close, about that. And it's that they haven't found the vehicle for wealth that's right for them yet, because they've only been exposed to a particular type of way of making money, maybe 3 or 4 even. And there's so many And if you open that wealth is your game that you're here to play, which is on your blueprint, then it's about following the opening of the internal guidance system as you play the hot cold game. Do you remember when you're a kid? You play that hot cold game. They'd hide an object, they'd blindfold you, and then people would try to say where it is. And as you're moving around the room, they'd be like, cold, cold, Arctic, freezing, 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 cold. And then as you turn around and kind of find your way back, and they're like warmer, warmer, and then they get always Sahara hot, super hot, right? That's what that's more like what the IGS is guiding you, internal guidance system, IGS, is guiding you in. It's giving you, as you're playing with your thinking, you're feeling into the opening until you get the opening to drop in to a particular trajectory in your life. And so if you're filled with anxiety, worry, frustration, fear, if you're overwhelmed, that means that the thinking you have that is currently running your life is out of alignment with what you're here to be and do. I want you to get that. Always. Now I'm going to say always is a big statement because there are chemical interactions in the body with hormones and things. I know I started having more anxiety as I started losing my estrogen and progesterone and coming into menopause, right? I also know that, alcohol, when it recedes, when you're coming through a withdrawal, and I'm not even talking about alcoholics, you can have 2 glasses of wine and wake up in the middle of the night with anxiety. That anxiety is literally the dopamine withdrawal from the brain after your alcohol's been processed. Always related to the internal guidance system, because there's a chemical flood of cortisol at that time that's trying to regulate the body from getting rid of the poison of the alcohol. And it has, I think some of you who've maybe drank, you know what I'm talking about. But most of the time, what's happening when you feel anxiety, and when you're feeling worry, your mistrust, doubt, concern, you're going to in your body, or the tightness in your chest, or the fluttering and sick feeling here, lump in the throat. When you feel that, it means you're out of alignment with your life's purpose. And I don't believe that we have one life's purpose. I have found that, I believe from working with 40,000 plus people, I haven't counted it up in years, so it's way over 40,000 now. But what I've found is that every day there is an optimal day that you're to be participating in. Every day. I have had so many people come and coach and take programs. And we're like, I just want to know why I'm here and why I matter. What is my thing? There's multiple, from giving that book to a friend who really needs it, to being really nice to the cashier in the grocery store, having that little conversation, to helping take care of your grandbabies for your kids who really need you and need you to be with your grandbabies, and the influence you have on your grandbabies. There's a purpose in that, and taking care of your body and walking. And there's a lot of things that need to be taken care of in the midst of everything. And these openings lead you there. And if you're closed, that means that you're not getting into your optimal day. If you're in anxiety, you're not in your optimal life. Hi, Gilbert. Thank you. I'm so happy to have you. It's beautiful. I appreciate it. Welcome, Gilbert. And so that's the goal of this. Can you believe it? I want you to just think about this for a second. You were born with a system that gives you sensations in your body, letting you know if they're creating your reality. Even if you don't believe in the law of attraction, you have to think of something before you do it. You have to think of building a house before the house gets built. It's not going to get built unless you imagine it. You're not going to get up and make that cup of coffee sitting on the couch. You have to think, I'd like a cup of coffee, and then you go make a cup of coffee. Everything is coming from our thinking. That we have a system that's regulating and giving us guidance, sensations, physical sensations, on how effective our thinking is in the moment to bring us our optimal life. You've had it. We all have it. And when we get in tune, I call it opening and closing. Closing begets closing. Meaning if you come to somebody with a closed thinking that's out of alignment, they will immediately begin to get closed, and closing begets closing. And that's a lot of what we're seeing in the world around us. A lot of what we're seeing in the world around us when these people are clashing and all the garbage you're seeing with people fighting on TV and all of it, they're coming from a closed place and they're producing closing in the world by people listening to them. But the good news is that opening creates opening. And when you're in alignment and opening, you attract the opening, and people can hear your opening, and that it opens them up. And that's how we create a brand new world. That's how we shift species from destruction and drama and creating damage to actually moving into a place where we're collaborating and finding solutions that work for all of us. And it starts in your life, and then it moves into the bigger life. It will start with all of us in our way. So I want you to think about that. There's hope. And then the other piece that I want to share with you today before I sign off is that mental is not a bad thing. I'm not coming out here and saying, oh, mental fear, don't think that way. Fear is guidance that what you're thinking is not true or not going to happen, and that you need to be thinking in a new direction. That tight, suffering, anxiety feeling, it doesn't feel good. I get it. I think it's supposed to not feel good because it's going to wake us up to having a different life. Once you understand what that anxiety, worry, fear, frustration, irritation, procrastination, guilt, once you understand what these things mean, that they mean your thinking is out of alignment with your optimal blueprint, what you're here to be and do, you can change it. And you want it to be loud. We go conscious all the time, and you want this feeling to wake you up and be loud. Because your trance that we're in our lives, or we're just rotely going, it wakes us up. It's like, okay, what is really going through my mind? What am I really producing here? This isn't something I want to produce anymore. Feel great, flowing and free and filled with love and intimacy and connection and abundance every day. I don't want to live in this place where I'm uncomfortable and I'm worried and I'm fearful and everything seems I'm not going to have enough, and I'm in lack, and it's too hard, and I'm not enough. It's all a lie based on things that have been put into your mind that are not true for you. So shifting and moving into a place where you can feel literally when you go from that closed place, and that's what happens in the coaching. Like I said, if you want to coach with, go to fearfreehuman.com, get on my mailing list, because I'm doing this almost every day, and you can come and talk to me about this. If you're in worry, if you're in fear, come work with me. I can instantly shift it. You'll feel it. You'll feel the release of that thought as it leaves and the truth comes in, and you'll be amazed at how fast it happens and how different you feel when you know how to use your internal guidance system to just do that pivot. We're only a few opening thoughts away from being back on our blueprint. It's not that hard. It's like God and the universe is conspiring to move you life. That's what is true for you. And it's what's happening in the planet, in nature. I mean, this is the way this planet works. Look at nature. Everything has what it needs. Everything is out there in a symbiotic order. It's beautiful. And you're supposed to be in that. And this is in the way. And you have something inside of you working with you and guiding you every single day on how to shift that and change it. And I'm here to show you how to do it. And I know that it doesn't take that long because I've watched people do it. It's very quick. And the dramatic effect of it is profound in how fast your life changes. So we didn't have anybody show up today for coaching, which is okay because I got this opportunity to spend this time with you and give you even more information on how this works. I'm looking forward to doing some more coaching with people. If you're interested in this, you can do Fear Free Mind Experience at fearfreemindexperience.com. You can sign up. It's $97. And it's a 14-day program, and you get a month of coaching with me. And you can also just coach with me for this month and get more information on this by going to fearfreehuman.com and signing on the mailing list. And you'll get information on all of this, plus my mini pods that slowly teach you how to use this. Good, Jane. I'm glad you're on my mailing list. That's awesome. I'm really glad because you'll be getting updates and things. That's wonderful. I love it. All right. So I'm going to sign off for today. And then tomorrow I will be on at 11:45 a.m. Tomorrow I'll be on at 11:45 a.m. And Sky says it works. Yes, Sky's been working and doing this. I love it. And so 11:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be here tomorrow. If you want to get live coaching, if you're watching this after the live show, or if you're on the show right now watching, go ahead and get on this or put it in your calendar for tomorrow, and you'll email with the link again. All right, everybody. I love you. I'm sending you love and blessings. Go forth and have an amazing day. And hopefully I'll get to see you tomorrow.